Badgers, one angry pagan here. So I wanted to. Well, I don't want to. I'm having a look at Trump's war on the environment in his first 100 days, and it's quite fucking disturbing. This this comes from InsideClimateNews.org. Usually some good stuff on there. So here we go. In his first 100 days, Trump launched an all-out assault on the environment. Compared to his first term, the threat posed by Trump's second administration is on a new level, environmental groups and legal experts say. 100 days into the Trump administration, many environmentalists' worst fears about the new presidency have been realised and surpassed. Facing a spate of orders, pronouncements and actions that target America's most cherished natural resources and the most vulnerable communities, advocates fear the Trump agenda unchecked will set the country back decades. And it will. This is fucking disgusting what Trump and his administration are doing. It's not an overstatement to say that the Trump administration has launched the worst White House assault in history on the environment and public health. Day by day and hour by hour, the administration is destroying one of the signature achievements of our time, said Manish Bhatna, the president and CEO of environmental non-profit Natural Resources Defense Council, the NRDC. If this assault succeeds, it could take a generation or more to repair the damage. Yeah, I would say more. U.S. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, DRI ranking member of the Senate Environment and Public Works Committee, said in a statement to Inside Climate News that the president's corrupt assault on clean air, clean water, and affordable clean energy has helped make him the least popular president in over 100 years into the job. Polling shows President Donald Trump's approval rate, 39% according to the Washington Post AB News Ipsos poll, is lower than any president's at 100-day mark since such polling began. Trump's fossil fuel-funded gangster government prioritizes lawlessness and a disdain for the Constitution, not lowering household energy costs or incentivizing economic growth or reducing pollution, White House said. The American people know this has made them worse off, and it will get worse still. Yeah, it will. And quite honestly, I'm running out of fucking sympathy for anyone who went along with Trump just because they want to change. I am sick and tired of that fucking argument. Because it's just lazy thinking. A press release issued by the White House on Earth Day last week presented a very different picture, titled, "On Earth Day, we finally have a president who follows science." I'm going to have to cover that as well, because that's going to piss me right off, and I feel like it needs to be kicked off about. What? Trump doesn't know what fucking science is? Fucking cunt. The memo outlined key actions taken by Trump on the environment so far. These included promoting energy innovation for a healthier future, such as carbon capture and nuclear energy, cutting wasteful regulations like emissions rules for coal plants. Coal, one of the worst for the environment. Protecting wildlife by ordering a pause on offshore wind. And protecting public lands by opening more of them to oil, gas and mineral extraction whilst ensuring responsible management. It's bullshit. It's complete bullshit. And the MAGA lot will just soak it up because they're fucking morons. The brains don't work properly. What? When reached for comment, the White House did not respond directly to the criticisms levelled at the administration for its environmental record so far, but instead affirmed a commitment to protection, repeating words Trump used during his campaign and since his election. As the president has said, the American people deserve clean air and clean water. Then why are you allowing more coal, you fucking twat? Oh. The White House spokesman, woman Taylor Rogers, said the what? Okay, as I'll start out here. As the president said, American people deserve clean air and clean water, said White House spokesperson Taylor Rogers, who is a fucking moron. In less than 100 days, EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin is taking steps to quickly remove toxins from our water and environment, provide clean land for Americans, and use common sense policies. Where is it? To power the great American comeback. It's ridiculous. They don't give a fuck about the environment. They don't care. It's fucking disgusting. To environmental experts, the Earth Day press release was indicative of a pattern in the administration's communications with the public. This really is a masterclass in doublespeak, said Hannah Pearls, senior staff attorney at Harvard University Environmental and Energy Law Program. Rather than supporting a healthier future, in its first 100 days, the administration has slashed government agencies and rescinded rules that lower pollution levels and improve public health outcomes. Instead of energy innovation, the president has championed coal while killing renewable energy projects. Instead of protecting public lands, Trump fired thousands of Park and Forest Service employees and threatened to put the Endangered Species to gut the Endangered Species Act and encourage logging and drilling on federal lands. And instead of following the science, the president has cut critical research funding across almost all disciplines and ignored expert consensus on climate change and conservation. This is an all-out war on the environment by the most corrupt people in America. It's fucking disgusting. The administration, which has doubled down on climate denial, is also withdrawing the US from the Paris Agreement. Again, the treaty designed to help the world avoid the most dangerous consequences of the climate crisis and cut loose the scientists working on the nation's key climate assessment. While it's typical for a new administration to alter existing policies, the actions of the second Trump administration on climate and the environment are unprecedented, even with Trump's first term. Yeah. Trump's first term was bad enough. This is so much worse. Yeah, this is like, we always anticipate policy reversals with every administration, whether it's Democrat or Republican, Powell said. Those reversals used a scalpel approach where policies were considered and changed on a case-by-case basis. This time round, they're using dynamite, she said. It's fucking disgusting. Green light for pollution. People under 50 don't have any real life experience with just how dirty the air was before the Clean Air Act was passed in 1970, said David Hawkins, a senior attorney in climate and energy at India at the NRDC. Well, I do, he said. He described living in New York City back in the 60s. His windowsill black with soot every morning. Plumes of smoke pouring from scores of apartment buildings, building furnaces and incinerators in the tunnel of haze obscuring Manhattan's long avenues. The lead in the lead in the air. The lead in the air spewed from all of these automobiles, trucks, and buses. Over his lifetime, Hawkins said in a call with the press in April, he watched as government regulations helped to curb this pollution. Regulations lowered toxic emissions. They reduced rates of respiratory illness, heart disease, and premature deaths. And they brought huge economic and environmental benefits to the US. Here's the scary news. These gains can be lost, he said. Keeping the clean air is not automatic. Hawkins said the administration's attempt to sunset or repeal swathes of environmental regulations could undo the progress of the last 55 years. This administration knows fuck all about science, and if it does, it's saying the opposite because it feels it's more profitable. This just also show how stupid these people really are. Like, Trump could make America a whole lot more richer if he pushed a lot more heavily than Biden did on the green energy movement. But no, he wants to go back in time because he's an old fart. We don't know exactly how broadly this executive order will be applied, but it could mean the end of protections that are keeping our air clean. He said, if the rules are sunset, there's no legal obligation for these polluters to keep their equipment operating. Environmental attorneys have called the sunsetting provision simply unlawful and questioned whether it would ever hold up in court. But the order is just one effort of dozens by the administration to roll back regulations and drastically shrink the workforce that writes, interprets, and enforces these rules. The White House plan for the Environmental Protection Agency would cut the budget by 65%, forcing the agency to operate with less money than it has ever had since its founding in 1970, adjusted for inflation. This is just fucking painful to watch from across the pond. It really is. We've suffered under the Tories, but this is ridiculous. Pearl's worries about the loss of career expertise at the EPA, which can't easily be replaced, and she's concerned about about the signal the orders send to industry, even if they are ultimately struck down in court. I think it is reasonable to anticipate that many industries are to see this as a green light to pollute with abandon. Yeah, it's like what the Tories did with the water companies at maximum. This is insane. The administration has made very clear in this first 100 days who they are for and who they are against, said Jeff Gisler, a program director for the Southern Environmental Law Center. And as we expected, they are looking to empower heavy polluting industries, and they are putting the burden on communities to deal with the pollution that results from this. It's just... what a bunch of fucking cunts. It makes me feel fucking miserable. The SELC is a non-profit law firm that represents environmental groups across the southeast on a wide range of cases. The group is currently suing the Trump administration, arguing that the administration's freezing of grant funds is unlawful interference by the executive branch and violates the First Amendment. What we're seeing is complete disregard for any sort of legally required process, Gisler said. We saw some of that in the first Trump administration. This time they're taking it to a whole new level. Pearls and Hawkins both emphasised that the administration's policies, if enacted as proposed, will have a real-world impact on many Americans' lives. There are very real public health harms that come from having our primary public health enforcement agency abandon its obligation to protect and safeguard human health. Pearl said of the cuts at EPA and a March memo saying the agency would no longer consider race or socio-economic status in its enforcement. Communities with more people of colour and lower income residents often face worse pollution, the result of both historic and current discrimination. Exactly. But this is the world they want. There needs to be an underclass. There needs to be an Untermensch for the rich to feed off. People will die as a result of these exposures. It might not be tomorrow, it might not be in 6 months, but people will die, she said. The Harvard Environmental and Energy Law Program is tackling the administration's environmental justice actions in an online database. I think I covered that in the previous video, I think. Maybe the one before. Environmental justice organisations nationwide are reeling from federal funding freezes. EPA suspended millions of dollars in grants for projects like planting trees, air monitoring, and preventing child lead poisoning. Child lead poisoning. And this administration says it cares for the fucking children. What the fuck? The agency is also dismantling its environmental justice offices and deleted its environmental justice mapping tool, the EJ screen, that helps people understand how different exposures differ across the nation. Yeah, this administration is so pro-science, isn't it? Anyone who believes that needs to have their brain checked. I'm not fucking kidding. Causing chaos was the goal, said Patrick Drupp, the director of climate policy for the Sierra Club. The small community groups that are counting on that money for environmental justice or community solar projects, they can't wait out long court battles, even if they ultimately prevail. The same thing with federal workers who were illegally fired. People can't just sit around and wait 8 months for a court case to play out and find out whether or not they are actually able to keep their job. Oh, our administration is the best administration for employment ever. The comments about doublespeak earlier was fucking bang on. Fuck's sake. The administration's efforts to erase and halt federal work on climate, environment, and the environment have not been limited to the EPA. At the Department of Homeland Security, Secretary Kristi Noem ordered the end of all climate change activities and the use of climate change terminology. The Federal Emergency Management Agency ended the Building Resilience Infrastructure and Communities program, which allocates grants for projects like flood control, wildfire management, and infrastructure maintenance that reduce disaster risk. $77 million people voted for this bollocks. And Nigel Farage wants to do that here. Sweeping cuts at the Department of Health and Human Services have impacted programs like the Low Income Housing and Energy Assistance Program, which has been sending funds, which has seen funding cut off because all the federal staff administering the program were fired. Yeah. The program helps American families, with heating and cooling bills, weatherizing. I've never heard that word. Weatherizing their homes and keeping their electricity and gas turned on. Weatherizing. I'm sorry, that word has caught me off guard. What the fuck? Weatherizing. The atmospheric pressure. No. See, even Google doesn't recognize it. What does it mean? To make a house or building or other building resistant to cold weather by adding. Okay, so to weatherize is to make your house resistant to weather. Okay, weatherize. Sorry, that's a new one on me. We don't use that word here. Weatherize their homes and keeping their electricity and gas turned on. HHS also fired 200 staff members in the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's Division of Environmental Health, Science and Practice, who worked on health issues related to the environment and climate change, like asthma and air pollution. In February, Attorney General Pam Bondi ordered the Department of Justice to terminate all environmental justice programs, offices and jobs. It is a war on the environment. It is a war on fucking science. The attack on environmental justice is an attack on millions of Americans relying on clean air and clean water across our country, said Senator Ron Wyden, Democrat for Oregon, in a press release in response to Bondi's move. Trump and his oil-loving cronies are not just making the climate crisis worse, they are also harming the most vulnerable communities in America. They want an Untermensch. They need an Untermensch. They need under people. They need people to fucking be slaves. In Trump's first administration, his team at the EPA framed their approaches back to basics, turning away from action on climate change and back to the air and water quality concerns that were the original impetus for federal environmental law. When asked by Inside Climate News about the environmental record of the second Trump administration's first 100 days, a White House official noted some examples: the ramping up of efforts to end decades of raw sewage flowing into Southern California from Tijuana in Mexico, and Zeldin's work on a set of proposals to tackle exposure to dangerous forever chemicals known as PFAS. But many environmental accomplishments the White House has pointed to raise their own concerns. It's ridiculous. For example, Zeldin has been notably silent on whether the administration will oppose the chemical industry's effort to overturn Biden administration's PFAS regulations, which were accompanied by $1 billion for state-level water testing and treatment. The White House has touted its speed up in approval for state plans to implement the Clean Air Act, many of which were backlogged under the Biden administration. Some clean air groups fear the state plans are being rubber stamped. Another White House official also noted that the EPA has completed the largest wildfire response in the agency history, clearing 13,000 Los Angeles properties of hazardous materials in just 28 days, at the start of the administration, but local groups protested the EPA's use of a coastal wetland as a staging site for the toxic debris from the Palisades and Eaton fires. As right, they should. Like, you don't like. It's the same again, like the same issue we had in this country. The right wing just ignore. Like they see a bit of land, they're like, "Oh, we'll use that. Fuck it," not ignoring how important that bit of land actually is. The administration's cuts have largely been carried out in the name of eliminating waste and led by Trump's donor Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency. Fucking Doge. But experts say it's clean air from the aggressive. It's clear from the aggressive scale and speed from the administration's conduct that this is not really the goal. If you're trying to cure cancer, you excise the tumour. You don't kill the patient, Powell said. They're not trying to excise the tumour, they're trying to kill the administrative state. Yes. It's fucking disgusting. It's going to be a two-part video. I just had a look, and this carries on a fair bit longer and will take me more than an hour to complete at this rate. So I am going to leave it there. The next one is going to be about mass layoffs, minimised monuments, and Musk is the title of the next part. So yeah, really, so far what we've gone over is just how insane the gutting of the environmental administration administrative centre really has been. And again, it's not just the environmental stuff. I'm concentrating on the environmental stuff because that's my kind of that's in my wheelhouse. But like, this is across the board. The rich boys are going, "Oh no, we don't want the rules anymore. We're getting rid of the rules." Well, we'll see what fucking happens when we get rid of the rules, shall we? Fucking cunts. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. This is fucking disgusting. It is insane to look across the pond and see this inanity happening. And you get the MAGA fans and the right wingers going, "Nah, man, there's been too much of the environmental regulation." Now fuck off. You lot did your damage, now let's fucking fix it, you cunts. Sick of it. "Oh, but it wasn't like this in the old days." Yeah, which is what led to the damage, because you didn't think like this in the old days. Fucking morons. This is what happens when you try to convince a whole group of people that evolution doesn't exist as well. Fucking insane. Ugh. Anyway, sword at your service, people. We should be backs. Blessed be badgers. Freaks love to you all.